Good morning, everyone. Today we're going to be factoring the common factor out of our expression. Our expression is 9x squared plus 18x to the third. My first step is to find my prime factors of 9x squared. So 9x squared, sorry about the squeak, is equal to, well, 9 is the same thing as 3 times 3. X squared is x times x. Alright, now my second term is 18x to the third. So 18x to the third is the same thing as 9 times 2 times x times x times x. And 9 is the same thing, because 9 is not a prime number. 9 is the same thing as 3 times 3. And then we write everything else. So 2 times x times x times x. Okay, now my first step is going to be to find the GCF. I can find the GCF by looking at everything they share in common. In this case, they have 2 3's that they share in common. And they also have 2 x's that they share in common. So their GCF is 3 times 3 is 9, x times x is x squared, so our GCF is 9x squared. But my full answer needs something inside the parentheses. What will be inside the parentheses is what is left over. And you might be saying, well, there's nothing left over with 9x squared, but I could just say, oh, times 1. It's the same, it'll give me the same number back, but this allows me to see that I have a 1 left over. So I'm going to write 1. And then in my second term, I can see that I have a 2 times x left over. So I'm going to write plus 2x. So my final answer is 9x squared times 1 plus 2x. Here's a slightly different version of the problem, but I think it's important to see. So what if it asked us to factor the common factor out of this instead? Negative 9x squared minus 18x to the third. Well, again, I would start by writing out my prime factors. Negative 9x squared is the same thing as negative 1 times 3 times 3 times x times x. Negative 18x to the third is the same thing as negative 1 times 3 times 3 times 2 times x times x times x. So again, we find our GCF, and now they have negative 1 times 3 in common. They also still keep their x times x in common. And again, maybe I'll just put the 1 here, times 1. So they have in common negative 1 times 3, which is negative 9. X times x is x squared. Now inside the parentheses, I put whatever's left over. Well, I still see that I have my 1 left over, so I'll put 1. And then I can still see that I have a 2 times x left over here. So I'll do plus 2x. Slightly different, but this would be my final answer.